Started the day with a little bit of a bounce back after several down days in a row. I'm joined now by Tim Strunk of agmarket.net for our daily market summary. Tim, is that how we closed here in the grains today? Did we end up in the green?
Yeah, corn fought very, very hard. We'll have to see where the settlements come in, but for the most part, we were higher, led by soybeans. Really, soybeans, corn, and wheat were all higher throughout the day, and just a real quiet session with not a lot of news, just not much out there. And when that's the case, and we trade a little higher, we just tend to blame it on short covering, which is what I think this was, especially as we head into a WASD report tomorrow, and obviously we've been on a pretty big slide here for several weeks, and markets just seem to take a little breather.
And you mentioned that WASD report tomorrow. We also know there's a big report coming up at the end of June. And from what I remember in years past, we typically don't have a lot going on in the June WASD report that necessarily is going to move the markets. We're mostly focused on that report at the end of the month. Do I have that right?
That is absolutely correct. I think most in the industry would just assume skip ahead to that acreage report. That's been a big one that's on the horizon and on everybody's mind. But we'll get updated numbers tomorrow. Really, about the only thing that I think you may see some change in is we could still potentially see a little uptick in corn exports. It'll be interesting to see if USDA comes around to that. But we've continued to ship corn at a very rapid pace, and that stayed strong. So there's a chance we could see a little uptick there. But for the most part, I would expect at least the corn and soybean numbers domestically to not change much. I do think it's worth watching with the wheat production estimates. We'll get another winter wheat crop production guess from the USDA tomorrow. It's our second one. We got the first one last month. And with that one, I think everybody was a little surprised at how aggressive they got in cutting, specifically the hard wheat crop. That is a crop that has had a very rough go of it this growing season, and that's continued here as we've started harvest. Ironically, it's turned very wet in a lot of hard wheat country, and what wheat is there, guys are having trouble getting the field and getting it out. But back to the WASD, no, I don't anticipate anything too major tomorrow, but then again, you never know.
Over on the livestock side of the trade today, what did it look like for the cattle and hogs?
Yeah, the cattle markets had a pretty decent day. Saw some triple-digit gains throughout most of the session for both live and feeder cattle. We continue to deal with most of the headlines surrounding screwworm, which is now in the U.S. We kind of knew it was just a matter of time, but it's finally here, and the market is trying to sort itself out in the wake of that. And I think we're getting there. Now that we just kind of take a step back and see where we're at. But on the cash market side of things, there are some bids out there in feedlot country that steady or even maybe starting to creep a little higher with last week, and that lent some support to live cattle futures on the day. I had higher cutouts mid as well, so there's some optimism there that we might even be able to tick cash a little higher this week, and that helps futures. Moving over to hogs, some mixed trade on the day, but I guess about all you can say about hogs is at least we weren't lower, because that is just kind of what that market does lately, unfortunately.
And Tim, I wanted to ask you as well about the screwworm situation. I was pleasantly surprised by the public reaction to the initial case that was found in South Texas. I thought it would be more of a negative reaction, but really the public kind of seemed to take it in stride, which was a little surprising to me for people that maybe haven't been following this situation day to day. As we continue to get these confirmation of cases in the U.S., is the hope then that this will eventually just kind of become some background noise?
Yeah, absolutely. The faster we can get it out of the mainstream media news cycle, the better, because that really is the only risk associated with this long term, is if there's any sort of demand impact because of the perception of it. It's not a food safety issue by any means. Our cattle producers and vets in the areas that are affected, they will get a handle on this. We will get this stopped again. I think everybody in the industry has confidence of that. The main thing we have to do is make sure we don't erode any of this work that we have done on the demand side over the last several years to get it to where it is now, which is excellent.
And as we know, that sterile fly production just needs to continue to ramp up to fight back against the New World screwworm flies, and that's going to take a little bit of time. Tim, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, I can be reached directly at 785-340-3960, or you can track down anyone at agmarket.net, online at agmarket.net, or 844-424-6758.
Tim Strunk of agmarket.net, my guest here for the daily market summary. Tim, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.